Hello and welcome. Today on High Tech Cube I'm going to be showing you sort of everything you need to get your workshop sort of set up and started. So sort of things you're going to put in it, how you're going to organise it, and different things you can do, and the tools you'll need to work on particular projects. So first of all, let's go and have a look at my desk. Okay, so if you're going to be doing sort of electronics or sort of projects that will have small parts on them and things, or just any sort of workshop should really have these. And these are just these small sort of drawer trays that are just really useful. So you can see I've labelled them all. So if I wanted 47 kilo ohm resistors, they're all in there. And find my batteries and my battery holders, all my Arduino projects and things in there. And basically it just helps you to really organise and quickly access lots of things, rather than just having them all thrown in the box. So you can see I've got my tools as well that I can quickly access. So tweezers, calipers and things, all in drawers and things that I can quickly access. And it's really useful because I use these all the time when I'm working. Just grab an LED and things, and yeah, it works really well for me, and I like them. And these aren't too expensive, to be honest. These two are picked up from family, but these ones you can, 20, 30 quid, not too expensive, and really useful. Okay, so we'll just check up over here. Okay, so right here we've got my 3 soldering irons just hung up. So I'll go in more detail over the tools, but these will be included. So I've got 3 soldering irons, one with a finer point, one that I use just generally, and this is a desoldering pump iron, so it will heat up, but it's not a soldering iron, it's to get rid of solder. So it's a soldering pump with a tip that will heat up, so you'll be able to suck any solder that you don't want away from any connections, which is just really useful, and I use it all the time, so I'm always making mistakes. We'll just move straight back over to the middle. Okay, right. So desk lamp, invaluable, use that as well, loads, for all of my projects. So it just helps me light up the PCB so I can read all the connections, and just, really useful, helps me see everything better. This is just an angle, boys, really helpful for just getting it sort of low if I want to look into the gearbox. My project's right here, that's just really helpful. And yeah, it's great, really useful, and we'll have a close look at this right here. Okay, so when I'm soldering I'll be using this, which is just a sort of multi-purpose stand that allows me to hold my PCBs, and with this giant magnifying glass I can, well, showing them up. So it also helps as sort of a guard from all the fumes, because usually when you're soldering you get all the flux coming up straight into your face, which is really annoying. So this sort of just blocks them out. But you've also got 2 bright LEDs that will light up your work and your project while you're soldering it. It's useful for cables and pretty much anything you're using, well, anything you're doing that needs like small and fine details. I've also got a soldering iron stand to hold my soldering irons, with a sponge, which is just useful for cleaning up the leftover flux and impurities whilst you're soldering, just to make your joints a lot better. We've got black and red multi-core wire, useful, blue tack and super glue, so useful, always have a tube of that nearby, and also insulation tape. It's really good for when you're soldering, or just doing work with wires, just to tidy it up if you haven't got any heat shrink around. In here I've got these things which I call project trays, but basically if I'm doing a project, I'll basically have this giant tray that allows me to hold all my screws and little things in my project. So this is for my little robot, and I just use it for holding all of my little jumpers and screws used specific for that project. This one, it's just empty, and I use for general sort of work on my computer sometimes. What else? Here I've just got a general pot, pencil pot or something that I just clobbered together, but it just holds all my tools that I use regularly. So little rulers, scissors, cowpole, just general tools. Okay, so that's mostly the bench done. Oh, there's just one more thing I've forgotten to mention. I've got my little bench power supply down here, which is really useful for powering pretty much anything when I haven't got a battery spare. I also use it for charging lithium polymer batteries and things. But yeah, that's just generally useful. And I've got my computer set up over there and my Xbox for just fun, but that's nothing to do with the workshop. Okay, oh yeah, down, right there. Okay, twist it down. Just got a little table vise that's really useful for sort of just doing some general work, holding things while I'm sort of doing additions and things and cables and just generally clamping onto things. And yeah, that's pretty much all on my desk. I do have a little tray, and yeah, you may want like a little tray at the back here, which I use for just tiny little offcuts. It's getting quite full, but I use it for throwing away little bits of solder or legs and things, because they're actually quite useful to have around if you just need to do a quick bodge up on some copper tracks and you don't have a little thin bit of wire to solder on. That'll just work. Little legs that I've kept spare in that tray works really well. And of course, right on the wall, got my resistor chart as well. Always useful to have one of those around if you're doing electronic soldering and work. And then we're just going to go swing all the way around to this side of the room. Okay, so on this side of the room I've sort of got my improvised build bench. At the moment it just looks like a table with a computer on it, but it's just because that project is too big for my desk. I will assemble all of my parts, so get my motherboard ready for installation on my desk, and I'll just bring it over, slide it in, 9 screws, job done. It's useful to have a sort of perfect height table for working on things that hasn't got any clutter or tools on it, and that's what it's being used for. Another thing, if you're being quite creative or just need to organise a big project, a whiteboard is really helpful. I haven't got anything on it, but I'll use it for when I'm planning out, say, my water cooling loop on my computer, or I'm doing circuit diagrams and things, and writing out code when I'm programming and things. It's just so helpful. Since I put it in, I've been using it pretty much every day. It's that useful. I've also got just little magnets holding a little piece of paper and notes that I want. But yeah, generally it's just really helpful. Pile boxes are not part of the workshop, but they usually end up appearing because of your projects, which just so happens to be a computer, so it's got lots of boxes. My radiator and my motherboard and case box is the biggest. But yeah, generally that's pretty much it. We're just going to go and look at some of the tools that you may want when you're starting up and things, but usually they're quite specific. Okay, right, so some of the tools that I've got, so I've got this giant folder full of tools, but it's really useful. So I've got a pair of wire strippers, desolder pump, side clippers and pliers. Those tools really useful. Side clippers and pliers, always have a pair of those, no matter what workshop you're building. They are really important. Solder pump and wire strippers more sort of hardware electronics specific, but again useful, always using them. Then if we go over here, you can see I've got a multimeter. What this does is it allows you to measure sort of resistance, voltage and amps, and I use that all the time sort of when you're debugging a circuit board and things, trying to find out where the problem is and what component's faulty or what you haven't soldered correctly. This is infinitely useful. Again, pair of probes you use just to plug into the just not on camera there, sorry guys, but just a pair of probes that will plug straight into the multimeter, and really useful for as I said, PCB electronics and things. Again, set of screwdrivers, just useful. I've got lots of screwdrivers. So I've got screwdrivers with switchable heads. They're useful if I'm doing sort of hex and different torques and things. Screwdrivers with different heads, whereas standard Phillips and flatheads are I've just got a load of these for big, medium, and small, and tiny. But if I'm doing sort of really small scale electronics, like opening up laptops and things, I've got a set of precision tools with really small heads, which I use loads on all my projects. Then we have also got to look at soldering irons. Just a general 30-watt soldering iron is, that's good enough. You don't need to go for a £200 one, unless you're doing some proper sort of hardcore soldering or advanced electronics and surface mount. Maybe you want to go for a more high quality soldering iron. What else? Sort of a selection of knives. I've got a scalpel that's useful for just generally chipping away at things and cutting through. I don't know, where do I use it? I use it quite often, but yeah, just it's useful to have on your desk. Again, got a Stanley knife, useful for opening boxes, in unboxings and things, and cutting away at things you don't want. Oh, scalpel I use for cutting through cable ties that I've done really tight and I've got enough room to get a pair of scissors underneath, which leaves me on. A pair of scissors, just useful to have around. Again, ruler, tape measure, tweezers and things, just really helpful. Okay, so that was my quick introduction and sort of tour around my workshop and sort of showing you what I've got to in the stage. You're always going to be buying more tools, more equipment as your project go. So you really want to look at what people are using for your project specifically. So if you're doing PCB electronics, circuits and things, you're going to want to go for a full sort of wire strippers, desoldering iron, desolder pump, all of those things with the magnifying stand. But if you're doing sort of computers, you may want to have a tube of thermal paste lying around your desk, or some lots of different sizes of cable ties. But really you just sort of aim at what you're trying to make and customize your desk or your workshop for what you're building. So you also want to have a good working environment, so you want lots of light and things in your workshop for you to be able to see what you're doing, and space as well, because your projects will be getting bigger and better as you progress in whatever field you're making projects in. And yeah, so I've just outlined a load of tools, and thanks for watching. So rate, comment, subscribe, and look forward to seeing you soon.